What's up, Dragon Ball Super players? It's Logan here from Crossworld TCG, and today I'm bringing you guys my SS3 Tripleflash.dek. This deck revolves around getting your boy Tripleflash on the board. An amazing card with EX Evolve for just 1 energy. Unlike old EX Evolve cards, he gains Deflect when he's summoned, Triple Strike, and when you play the card, he draws 2, so he immediately replaces himself for 2 cards, and you don't have to discard any with EX, so it allows you to make really big pushes really easily. And with his permanent making you immune to counters when you hit 40k, this guy can be a really solid game ender if you put your opponent down to 3 early on. Getting into the profile, I play the SS3 leader, Heightened Evolution Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku. Just the best leader overall right now for most decks. I mean, he gives you access to early energy, easier awakening, defensive energy where you can tap out and still have energy to play, and he also gives you access to all of the blue cards, and all of the blue cards are just fantastic right now. I don't think anything more needs to be said about this guy. Moving on to the Goku package, we play 4 pint-sized Warrior Son Goku, you know, your simple Scry 7, your main guy that you're going to combo with into your 7-drop, and 4 Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku, as well as 4 copies of Tripleflash Son Goku. So these cards are pretty self-explanatory. Scry the top 7 cards, add any Son Goku GT. This guy has critical, but normally you're not going to be swinging with him. You're going to be using his permanent to make him a 5-drop so that you can evolve your Tripleflash on top of him. That way you can push for game. And then you also have Unbreakable, which is just another 4 super combos. Really good on the offensive, really good on the defensive. Gets you a card. Overall, really solid. And then I play 4 Tripleflash. This guy is fantastic. Just an amazing game ender. Replaces himself. I think it does it all. I think he's one of the best boss monsters out of the set because he's so easy to get onto the board. Next, we have our Awakening cards. I'm playing 4 Saiyan Kaaba and 4 Intensifying Power Trunks. With this deck, I like the 8 count right now. I think you could cut down maybe on a Kaaba. Really, he's a solid endgame finisher, and he allows you to awaken early. But overall, I think that the double strike in this deck helps a lot because you want to put your opponent at either that 7 or the 5 or that 3 mark. So you can either Kaaba with a Triple Flash or just Triple Flash attack them for game. So he's pretty solid at math fixing to kill your opponent. And worst comes to worst, you can charge him as energy or just use him as a combo. And really, because this deck can push so heavily on turns 2 or 3, the ability to put 1-drop threats that do double strike is kind of huge. So I like the 8 count. Personal preference, you can change it if you want to. Moving on, play 4 combination attack Pan. So this card is really nifty because with your Triple Flash and a single copy of Flute, you can bounce this card back to hand, bump your Triple Flash, summon it again, and then bump him again, and then just that makes it so that he can swing unimpeded. Really, 4 copies at the end of the day might be excessive, but I think that seeing this card early on, seeing your Triple Flash early on, is really solid. This deck overall is built around that combo of just pushing, and then killing your opponent. And worst comes to worst, because it's a free summon, you can swing with it for game if you need to. And even if you draw them late game, they're typically never going to be dead. And then for the 4 last red cards that I play are 4 Pride and Justice Topo. I couldn't justify not playing any form of negation, and I feel like Topo does a really good job at this because he has both the ability to come out and negate something, but also the ability to clear boards. So if you're in a disadvantageous position, instead of just taking the 1-for-1 off of the negate, you actually get the monster. And I think it really helps to punish the smaller drop decks that want to put a bunch of stuff on the board. And your opponent has to pump into this because he's big, he's 20k, so in order to save stuff, and then he'll just restand. And then also, I was noticing while testing that I didn't like anything that didn't have combo power, because you draw a lot during your turn when you're pushing for game, and when you're drawing into cards like, say, the card for that I cut for this was Grand Tour Spaceship. You see those cards, and they just don't do anything on the combo, and it's just, sometimes it screws you because you can't finish the game. Moving on to the blue cards, 4 boosted attack Piccolo. You awaken really early, you're always going to get a draw. Card's just really good. Then on to the energy manipulation cards, 4 Unyielding Spirit Trunks, and 4 Senzu Bean. These cards are both fantastic. This card basically makes the deck as good as it is. If you see like 2 or 3 of these, it's just insane. And then Bean obviously can help you meet your triple flash requirement easier. It's just another thing that you can use to hit that permanent that prevents counters. And then of course the final 4 blue cards. Flute. You have so many targets for Flute in this deck. You can Flute back your 1-drops to help self-awaken. You can Flute back your Pan. Really, it's just a fantastic card. It's nothing more to say. Also, with this card, you can bounce back blockers when you're going for game. So it's really useful. It helps you push if you have extra copies of it. And then the last 2 cards are just 2 Scientist Fu. Big old double striker that draws cards. I think that this is just phenomenal. The 25 is so huge. And with the amount of double strikers in our deck, giving your opponent doesn't really matter, because every time you give your opponent a card, you also give yourself 1 to 2 cards. And it just turbos through your game state and helps you help you win the game. So that's it for the main deck. Now there's a few cards that I was thinking about playing that I ultimately cut from this list, and I'll show them to you guys now. As you can probably tell, this deck is very much just 4of.dek. All of these cards do amazing things, and I think a lot of the cards could maybe be trimmed to 3. I really wanted this deck to be a starting point for people to test around with, or move forward into their own niche, into their own cards that they prefer to play. And to that, some of the cards that you have access to in this deck are Vados Assistant and Whist Coercion for alternate forms of negation. I think both of these negates are very, very good. The Whist Coercion allowing you more energy on the opponent's turn. Vados Assistant is good with the 3-drop SS3, because if you have both of them, you can actually swing with this on an earlier turn, and then when they try to kill this, you can just Vados Assistance, restand it back up. So it gives you a little bit more pressure. Ultimately, I went with the Topos because of the combo power factor, but I think both of these are very, very good cards. I would probably lean a little more towards the Vados, just because the Whist is adding additional blues to the deck. And then some other cards. This is just a stand-in for any other Goku that you might want to play. If you don't like playing 4 triple flash, if you want to change up your numbers a little bit, then I think this is the worst one of them, honestly. But you can play the 5-drop from the most recent set. You can play the other 6-drop that came out in Crossworlds. And I think both of those are good options, especially the one in Crossworlds, because you can swing with it and then it restands, and then you can EX evolve. So they're pretty good. I just chose to stick to the triple flash. And then you can also play this guy, Bodyguard Logic. He's really solid. Free blockers are just fantastic. Also has combo power. So just another defensive option that you have. And to go with that, there's also Raging Spirit Son Gohan. This card has fantastic synergy with Flute. You can play it, Flute it back, and then play it again. And it's just basically a free 10k combo and 15k body, and it just recycles itself and then removes it. It's just really good. I just couldn't find the room for it in this deck specifically because the Goku engine was so thick, but in general I would say anytime you have a blue leader, that this guy is definitely a worthy inclusion. And the final 2 are black cards. Time Control Cronoa. I think this card really depends on your locals. This is definitely in the side no matter what, but in the main deck, you just look around the room, feel it out. If you're going to a larger scale event, I don't know if maining Cronoa is a good idea either, simply because there's a lot of just red-blue being played right now. That format, that might change, but I don't think so without anything actually happening to either SS3 or Flute. So this card is worth playing in the side 100% of the time, but only in the main deck if you know that you're going to be playing against that deck at locals, I think. And then the last card is Dimensional Banisher Fu. It's another card like Fu. He's a double striker, but he has the ability to actually clear cards. So if your opponent's playing a deck with a lot of free blockers, he's a good option to be able to clear those blockers and then swing. Whereas this will only draw you cards, and if you can't get around the blocker, because there's not really any form of hard removal in this deck, it was just gas, gas, gas. You could try swapping these out. I think both of these are very, very good cards, and you should be playing at least 2 of either of them. But really, it's personal preference. I prefer the draw 2 over the ability to remove cards, but I think no matter what, this is also a necessary inclusion in the side, just to remove battle cards from the field. I think this deck is really cool going forward. It also has a lot of flexibility to be played with other leaders like Pan or another blue leader. Supposing something happens to this and to this, I think the playability goes down a little bit, but I think it's still a really cool card. It's definitely one of my favorite cards out of set 4, and come on, he's just Goku. So those were my thoughts and opinions on this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment below, let me know how you guys are playing your own version of this deck, and stay tuned for more content from Crossworld TCG. And this is Logan, signing off.